It's amazing how sometimes principles that seem to be long settled can suddenly become contentious. That's what happened in this case. A fraudster obtained the driver's license of a Mr. Patel and then went into a car dealer's yard and purchased a Mitsubishi Shogun on hire purchase. He handed over Patel's driver's license, the credit check was done on Patel's details, the car was placed in Patel's name. The fraudster paid some cash for the deposit and gave a cheque for the rest, but the cheque later bounced. He drove away and the next day sold the car cheaply to Mr. Hudson. Shogun Finance, who had provided the money for the hire purchase, sued Mr. Hudson for the return of the car. There were two ways to look at the dispute. One of those involved the contract law principles for fraudulent representation, or unilateral mistake as to the identity of the other party, and the other looked at basic principles of property law. Lords Nichols and Millett argued that the old rules of contract law, which treat mistake as to identity as being different from other types of fraud, was artificial and should not be followed. In their view, the contracts were fine and title had passed to Mr. Hudson, so Shogun Finance would have to sue the fraudster for their remedy. The principle which ultimately carried the day, though, was the principle Nemo Dat, Quod non Habet. You cannot give what you do not have. One key reason for this was that the Parliament had developed additional rules based on this underlying principle, which suggested that the underlying principle was sound and should be supported. Lord Hobhouse of Woodborough said, "My Lords, the question at issue on this appeal is, did Mr. Hudson acquire a good title to the car when he bought the car from the rogue who himself had no title? The basic principle is Nemo Dat, Quod non Habet. The hire purchaser has no title to the goods and no power to convey any title to a third party. The title to the goods and the power to transfer that title to any third party remains with the hire purchase company and with it alone." The result was that poor Mr. Hudson had no title to the vehicle and had to give it back and try to find the rogue to obtain the return of his money.